think we have all our panelists and our speakers, and we have few more joining in, but we'll start because it's the end of the day for most people, and so we don't want to delay. So thank you everyone for coming this evening and being here. Women entrepreneurs are some of society's most radical and profound members, and for good reason. They contribute to our ever-increasing standards of living and help ensure economy grows. While growing their business, they not only help themselves to meet their goals, they also help everyone else too. When women are at the forefront of entrepreneurship, innovation is enhanced, productivity surges, creativity expands, and the economy ultimately grows. Tourism has received considerable attention in recent years with regards to the impact of tourism and its ability to contribute towards sustainability. According to a statement by the United Nations World Tourism Organization in 2020, tourism has the potential to be a vehicle for the empowerment of women in developing regions. Tourism provides better opportunities for women's participation in the workforce, women's entrepreneurship, and women's leadership in other sectors and all other sectors of the economy. Red Dot Foundation, in collaboration with the Place Explore Lab and the Urban Vision, with support from Small Industries Development Bank of India, built the capacity of 100 marginalized rural women entrepreneurs in Karnataka, Goa, and Maharashtra to build their businesses within the tourism and wellness industry. Through this program, 100 women, through an extensive life skill program and mentoring, were enabled to develop and enhance placemaking-based products and services based on the unique and authentic experiences, based on local vernacular traditions, by facilitating learning of place and entrepreneurial skills, access to resources, and mentorship, and creating linkages through digital and physical marketplaces. This program capitalized an ecosystem for community-based tourism and placemaking in Karnataka, Goa, and Maharashtra. So with that, I'd now like to introduce and invite Dr. Mayank Prakash. He's team leader, monitoring and evaluation, Swavalamban Resource Facility with the PDI vertical from SIDBI. Mr. Prakash is a development professional having more than 8 years of experience in research and program management in areas of public health, adolescent gender, livelihood, and enterprise promotion. He has vast experience of working with government multilateral and bilateral agencies and have supported various programs in evidence-based advocacy and decision-making for program improvement. He holds a PhD in population studies from International Institute of Population Sciences and a recipient of the Young Scientist Summer Fellowship by International Institute of Applied System Analysis, Austria, and South African Research Foundation. SIDBI is also our partner and supporter of this project, and therefore I'd like to invite Dr. Prakash to say a few words.
Thanks, Tanya, and good evening, everyone, and who all are in the. Sorry for my voice; I have some trouble. But yeah, good evening, everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Dr. Prakash, little louder, please. Just a little louder.
Just give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah, is it better now?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so good evening, everyone, and thanks, Tanya, for a wonderful introduction of mine. So, as you mentioned, that SIDBI is also a partner in this initiative with the Red Dot Foundation. So, I will quickly give a brief about what in SIDBI's mindset when we collaborated with Red Dot Foundation. So, hope all of you are aware about the work of that SIDBI does. So, SIDBI, since its inception 1990s, has always been into forefront of development sector and been working mainly for the promotion of enterprise development. Apart from this, we also focus on developing the livelihood and also empowering the women. So women is one of the cornerstones of SIDBI's main mandate. So we launched one of the say you can say like one of the Magna Carta initiative in 2020-21, where we launched this Swavlamban Challenge Fund. So Swavlamban Challenge Fund is what basically a crowdsourcing of the ideas. So we asked for different development partners across the sectors, and we welcome their proposals. And I think within the 2 rounds of SCF window, we received more than around 700 proposals, and those proposals were stringently evaluated by the expert committees. And based on that, so we finally approved around 18 high impact innovative projects, and Red Dot, the whole CVT was one of them. So what was unique about this project and what aligns with the vision of SIDBI? The first thing, like this whole CBT project is about promotion of enterprise. This was one unique thing which collaborates with the ideology of SIDBI. Second thing, it also tried to address the employment generation, which is also again the core focus of SIDBI. Apart from this, what additional thing which SIDBI was getting from this project was about the life skills enhancement of the women. And like this was unique in terms that in none of the projects which we are doing, we found that life skill development was one of the important component. So when this proposal came, so it was adjudged by the evaluation committee to be awarded, and finally we worked. And the whole in like after I think this project is about to be completed right now, and that the team had done a commendable job. Like we have reached out around 100 women from different socioeconomic background, mostly marginalized community in age group of 18 to 35. So they have been provided life skill training and also the mentoring on the CVT components. I think Red Dot has also developed one whole curriculum about their training and all. So all these are commendable efforts, and apart from this, they also provided this market linkages to them. So I hope this initiative will continue to flourish in future, and my best wishes to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Prakash. And so, on this note, of course, our women entrepreneurs have gone through uh, 30, more than 30 hours of training modules, but also a lot of hand-holding. There's been cross-learning, there's been experience sharing, story sharing, and to assist the entrepreneurs to take their businesses to various market channels, we have put together a small catalog of all the products and services and the various experiences that are offered by our entrepreneurs. This catalog will be circulated amongst hotels, corporate houses, and other such organizations. We're going to share a small video, it's 1 minute, which will just give you a brief glimpse of the catalog. We will be publishing it, and we will also share a copy with you. So I'll hand over to Sonali to play the video, please.
Sure, just one moment, Tanya, I'm sure.
Sure, sure.
Travel and tourism is one of the largest and fastest growing economic segments today. Community-based tourism is an effective mechanism for sustainable and inclusive development in terms of its social, economic, and environmental impact. Red Dot Foundation, in collaboration with the Place Explore Lab, conducted a project to build the capacity of marginalized rural women in Karnataka, Goa, and Maharashtra to build their businesses within the tourism and wellness industry. In order to further promote the products and services provided by these women and connect them to the marketplace, Red Dot Foundation is happy to launch a booklet of products which will be made available at hotels, coffee shops, corporate offices, etc., thus giving the women increased visibility, helping them to grow their businesses and become successful marginalized rural women micro-entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Sonali. With pleasure now, I would like to introduce our panelists and our key partners who have supported us through this project in various ways. The first panelist is Sri Prabhakara Achar. He's the State Program Manager for NRLM, State Office, Bangalore. He has been a project director at the Child Labour Project Society, Legal cum Probation Officer, District Program Manager in the DC Office, Udupi, amongst a few and the various positions he has held at the DCPU, DC, and NRLM ZP Office, Udupi. Welcome, sir. We also have Ms. Pallavi Arondekar. She's Director, Goa Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and editor of the GCCI Bulletin. GCCI is Goa's apex industry association, facilitating dialogue between trade and industry and the government. Ms. Arondekar is in charge of the tourism, education, IR and HR committees of the chamber. We also have Mr. Mayank Prakash, team leader, monitor and evaluation from SIDBI. We have Mr. Shri Vishwas Kadam, Deputy General Manager, NABARD. Mr. Vishwas Kadam joined NABARD office in Goa. And before joining in Goa, he worked in various capacities in the NABARD head office, regional offices, and training establishments at the headquarters in Mumbai, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. He's a graduate in commerce from Mumbai University and has vast experience in microcredit, farm and non-farm sector interventions, human resource management, etc. We also would like to thank Dr. Milind Gurun. He's not here today. He's the Chief General Manager of NABARD. He has mentored so many of our women entrepreneurs. He has spent time understanding their challenges and advising them on the various schemes to enhance their businesses further. We also have Professor Valsraj. He's Head of Academic Support Services, Welcome Graduate School of Hotel Administration. And his qualifications include BSc, BHM, MHRM, and Advanced Food Safety Trainer Certificate from Train Can, Canada. He has conducted several community outreach programs, extension activities, women empowerment programs, capacity building workshops, food festivals for the Department of Tourism of Udupi. He's also the Service Excellence Task Force leader for the Mangalore Health Tourism Project. And I would now, with great pride and pleasure, like to also introduce our partner, our dear partner, and somebody who has really spearheaded also this project, Ms. Pratima Manohar, the founder of Urban Vision as well as the Place Explore Lab. She is a social entrepreneur. Besides being the founder of both these organizations, she's a contributing columnist on architecture, urban development, and design for the Times of India. Outside of her work as a social entrepreneur, she's an architect, critic, writer, and TV journalist. She's an urban expert, and she has worked on pilot projects and researched on issues such as affordable housing, participatory planning, and green cities. She was awarded the Stanford University's prestigious Draper Hill Fellowship on Democracy, Development, and the Rule of Law, which is bestowed on rising international stars who work on issues related to democracy and development. She's also a fellow at the Howard Kennedy School's Ash Center for Democratic Governance and Innovation. I would now like to hand over to Ms. Pratima Manohar to say a few words and then begin the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I'm so thrilled to, to see all of you and so many of our partners who've been such a crucial part of this little dream of, making tourism very authentic, but also to empower and enable more micro-entrepreneurship in rural India. And, it's the start. It's a drop in the ocean, and there's a lot of learning, but it's so nice to see so many supporters, co-conspirators and collaborators on this panel. This idea actually came in during the pandemic, where it became more and more clear that we have to invest in more resilient and inclusive societies. And there's a saying which goes, if you empower a woman, you empower a community. And as we all know, post-COVID, the gender parity in the workforce has dipped dramatically. Women's participation in the economy and workforce has dipped post the pandemic. And we really thought that community-based tourism is one of the ways to improve women's participation in the economy. You know, tourism is a huge part of the economy. We contribute to almost 10% of the GDP. And what's special about it is that it's, you know, most often leisure tourism is set in rural parts of the country. So community-based tourism, we believe, is a good way to drive the agenda of inclusive, sustainable development. And, you know, if you just think about what community-based tourism means, it's essentially giving tourists the chance to meet local people and really experience authentic cultural exchange. And if you think about successful places, you know, it's not the cookie cutter brands, right? It's the local, made in local, authentic brands. So when you showed those catalogs, these are not, you know, these are special things which makes a place authentic. You know, tourism offers opportunities for locals, especially local women, to share their culinary, wellness, cultural talent with the world, and also become financially independent and earn an additional income, while enabling really cultural experiences, authentic vernacular experiences for tourists who are visiting. So this is a win-win idea of aiding more livelihood development in an area, enabling more local economic development, and also creating a better tourism destination with authentic experiences. And we've spent the last couple of years working on this program, and we've so many special women, you know, entrepreneurs across these three coastal districts, from the coast, you know, from Maharashtra to Karnataka now, where we've, I think, almost have a cohort of 200 women, and they are, you know, literally the bedrock of great tourism experiences. And they're also kind of shining lights for women entrepreneurship. You know, women entrepreneurship is not just about unicorns and, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies, just, you know, micro entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs who are part of this system of, you know, in local communities are crucial for that inclusive and sustainable development. So yeah, congratulations to the team at the Red Dot Foundation and Place Explore Labs for, you know, like putting all their heart and soul into this. And I have to tell our partners that we've really tried working very hard on market linkages, but we continue to need, you know, we do need your support on that. The training, the mentorship, you know, all the skills programs that we've done is, you know, it's just a small part of making these entrepreneurs more successful. What we really need help with is market linkages. We need our local hotels, the OTAs and travel agencies to support these women, not just through mentorship, but hand-holding them as they kind of scale up their products and services. So yeah, so, you know, this is just a start. So we would love to continue to get all your feedback. And so before, you know, I would like to kind of start this panel discussion with, you know, with just a kind of, you know, with a question around entrepreneurship and women entrepreneurship in specific. And I want to start by inviting Pallavi, who's, you know, who does a lot of work in kind of pushing for business and entrepreneurship in the state of Goa at GCCI. So Pallavi, could you, you know, outline for us why micro entrepreneurship is important, and especially why women micro entrepreneurship is important? Pallavi, you are on mute, so you should unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. So good evening to all. Good evening, Pratima, Tanya, Meera, and the team at Red Dot and Explore, the Place Explore app. So I've been working with you all, at least, we've at Chamber, we've hosted events, and we've teamed up even at the Gaspardias, where Meera was conducting, these, I think she was kind of mentoring the women entrepreneurs. So first of all, please accept my congratulations on this 100 number that you've achieved and on the graduation of these women. Coming to micro entrepreneurship, Pratima, I would say that this is a very feasible way in which women are now being, they are in this field where they can work and they can earn for themselves. One is that the capital required is very less. They can start with that less capital. They, normally they have like funding from family or friends, and probably like a small little loan. So this is a very doable thing. And a lot of times I've seen that women are also doing it as a side hustle. So they have a full-time job, and then they are doing this. Like one of my neighbors, she's working full time, and on weekends, then on the WhatsApp group of the society, she'll send out a message saying that so and so snacks are available on this Saturday or this Sunday, etc. So that is something which she can fuel her entrepreneurship skill. She can use her talent other than the full-time job that she has. From then on, then it's a part of like scaling up and thereon. But one more thing is that usually like a micro enterprise not only encourages and helps a woman to earn, generally one or two openings more are created by her. So it could be within the same family, or it could be within friends. So like this neighbor's example that I gave, her mother-in-law has retired. He was also full-time working. But now the two of them, they team up together, and it's not just one-off thing on a Saturday or Sunday. It's a very, very regular affair. So I think a micro entrepreneur, micro enterprise is the easiest way that women can get into business, get a feel of of how it works, and then explore further.
Can I now invite Mr. Vishwas Kadam to share his thoughts on this, on why micro entrepreneurship is important? And Mr. Vishwas Kadam is from NABARD, and they've been really supportive on this program as well. So you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. Am I audible? Sonali?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And congratulations for organizing this event. Your specific question is that why this micro entrepreneurship is important for women particularly. Basically, if we look at providing employment and income generation activities for women folk, and for poverty reduction. This micro entrepreneurship clearly has an age, and it contributes to overall economic activity also. And it is such an activity which provides easy opportunity, easy platform for women, particularly from the rural areas, to onboard any income generating activity, and which is generally within their reach of resources. So I think micro entrepreneurship for women, particularly in rural areas, is of immense importance.
Thank you. Mr. Prabhakar Achar.
Yeah, good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Yeah.
So, we work very closely with you and the National Rural Livelihood Mission, which is the world's largest livelihood development program. So could you tell us why, within that network, and, the NRLM program is a poverty alleviation program as well. So why, and it is a livelihood development program, but how does micro entrepreneurship fit into this? Self-employment fit into this? And why is it
madam.
important?
You see, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, it is actually in the Pradesh National Livelihood Mission, it's a NAL. It was actually launched by Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India in June 2011. So actually, the mission aims to creating efficient and effective institution platforms of the rural poor, enabling them to increase the household income to sustainable livelihood enhancement and improve the access to the financial services. So actually, NRLM in the sense in Karnataka, like state mission management unit, and also in the other 31 district, actually district mission management unit are going to work here. So in November 2015, the program was renamed like Deen Dayal Antyodaya Day NRLM. So, like NRLM has set up with an agenda to cover 7 crore rural poor households. This is the main agenda. So in between same in our like last district, you know that we are like women entrepreneurship programs. We are organizing a lot of SHG programs and like one also like multi Seawalk side one is outlet like Sanjeevani outlet and also Ajivika Gramina Express, one vehicle is there, that is in canteen, mobile canteen. And like also one honey products and supermarket. So a lot of good activities going on, in, especially for Udupi district. And also entire Karnataka, and other districts also, a lot of programs is going on. So at the same time, in future, our SHG women likely like good entrepreneur. It's our main goal, madam.
Yeah. No, I've seen that. I mean, I think you're giving a lot of opportunities for women to have their own business and self-employment opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Maya, could you give us your thoughts on why micro entrepreneurship is crucial?
Sure. So everybody has given their perspective, but I will tell you from the micro perspective what happens at the government level, like why we need to
Right.
promote micro entrepreneurship. So if you see the Indian economy, like it constitutes 50% of women workforce, right? Like 50% male and 50% women. So there are studies which have highlighted that like if we invest in women, if we promote and see, 99% of enterprises which are being led by women are micro enterprise, and they have huge potential. So there are estimates like different studies like McKinsey and then Niti Aayog also, they have come up with a study that if we invest in these 20% of women micro enterprise, then we can add on around 170 million of jobs. We can create 170 million jobs, and these are the exact numbers which is required to meet the sustainable development goal number 5. So that is one thing. Apart from this, the biggest contribution which will come from micro enterprises is about the GDP contributions. So
Right.
according to few estimates, if we promote women enterprise in India, it will be around 0.007 trillion USD. So that is a huge number. So apart like both at the macro level in terms of economic perspective, enterprise is required to fuel up the economy. At the same time, when we see at the what happens at the community level, at the women level, so women feel more confident. They have more sage decision making in the household. So they become more confident. They gain more respect in the society as well. So these are the whole factors which promote that there should be focus on the women entrepreneurship in the country, or particularly micro entrepreneurship in the country, and they are basically the fuel which pumps the whole development cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good way to put it. Women in entrepreneurship as a way to kind of fuel the wider economic development. Professor Vansraj, looking at this from the perspective of the tourism sector, why are these micro entrepreneurs crucial from the sector's perspective? So you're on mute again. So can I request you to unmute? Yeah.
Long back, like we left all this platform, online platform, and getting
You're
into
back
it.
again.
It's just like not a diving, it's a scuba diving. So anyway, keeping that apart, I was listening to my panel members, and before I get into the micro entrepreneurship, so let's see that what women did for us, like including the sisters and mothers or whoever. The first impact which they have done is the care. Second one is the support. Third one is nurturing, and the fourth one is the development. So when you give back some facility for them to develop their own concerns, I hope the women can nurture themselves, care themselves, support themselves, and develop for themselves by creating or wanting to achieve the success or even to prove the success of oneself. That's also most important. So in between, like I ask you one question that if in such a way that how many of you know who is Swati Bhargava? Any idea who is Swati Bhargava? May not be known much. Why? Because she started with a very small kind of entrepreneurship. That is nothing but even I'm also using that particular app now. So that is nothing but a particular app which shows that I'll show you. This is the Cash Karo app. Okay, this came like a very small venture, and now so many venture capitalists have already invested a lot into that. There is nothing but the Cash Karo. Okay, so what they do is very very small thing in such a way that they do aggregate with the online sellers, and they get the commission. Plus, they give a lot of discount as well as points also to the customers. So in such a way, when you go through the micro entrepreneurship for the women, they are the one which I have seen that they do not allow the economic loss to happen. For example, if I am the person, I may even invest somewhere else also. But I have seen most of the ladies, they invest their own money into their own culture and their own ethnicity and their own environment, so that the cash does not go out of their particular field, and they're holding great social responsibility to someone else also. And plus care of their nurture and development the qualities by themselves. They can provide a lot of job to others, and that in fact turn to a greater community development. So economic empowerment, community development, and even for the women also, work-life balance, as the first panelist has very clearly told. And one more thing is that giving freedom for a lady to get into the micro entrepreneurship is nothing but that's the first bomb which we are blasting on the other, say the gender bias. Let it blast and let the woman come up. I believe that that's a way we have to do it. And I'm also here with the hospitality concern. So what we do here is that 44% of our students, especially the girl students, are turning to be the micro entrepreneur, and we do facilitate it, and we provide the grant and support them. So that's a concern which I have to talk to you.
So entrepreneurship is challenging, whether you're a man or a woman, and it is a lot more challenging for women, and even in all sectors of the entrepreneurship pie, right? Even if you're building big businesses or small businesses, it is a challenging career path, and women especially struggle to not just make it big, make their business sustainable, but also kind of get recognized for what they do. It's it's a bigger challenge to kind of build their own businesses. So are there any kind of tips that you would give our women entrepreneurs here? And I'd like to start with Pallavi, any big tips, or do you have a view on this? Is it more challenging to be a women entrepreneur versus men, and what can they do to kind of battle?
Very frankly, Pratima, I do think that things have changed, that entrepreneurship is a challenge to all entrepreneurs, initially at least. So I don't think it's restricted to women. Number two is there are many government schemes also, so government is having, like you have Mudra scheme already, which is there, which is collateral free, etc. Then you have certain other schemes, EDC is there. So on that front, I think women are increasingly being encouraged. And banks and financial institutions also are looking differently. The other aspects we can get into later, but there is a certain a certain feeling that in the society that in this issue of finance, that yes, women have to be supported. There are institutions like SIBA, Fire. They are also having programs. In fact, just today, GCCI has a very active women's wing. And just today, they have tied up with SIBA for a 3-week entrepreneurship development program, which is free for aspiring women entrepreneurs, or probably who are just getting into it. So I think that there is a change, and that there is a lot of focus on women, and they are recognized. Women are basically, I think, they are recognized as very diligent and someone whom you can trust with a loan. So one is that they would be hesitant to take a loan. That is one part by themselves. So and they will go for a smaller loan. So even banks and financial institutions, in that sense, they know that they are very sincere. So the repayment from that point that is, I think, the outlook that they generally have. So I think it's a very good time for women to be in business now, to get into business. And like I said, you could do like a side hustle. So if you're hesitant, of course, a rural woman is very different. She's looking after her house, and then this. So she can concentrate, say, on 2 or 3 products, need not get into it all, whatever she specializes, and then do. Similarly for people in the urban areas also. So you can be in a job and you're still aspiring. So I think the market now, the sentiment is positive towards women entrepreneurs. I think that's a change. Yes.
Okay, that's a very positive way of looking at it. And there's a lot of schemes and opportunities to enable more women entrepreneurship. So it's a good time to kind of start experimenting and starting your own venture. Mr. Vishwas, any thoughts on this?
Yes, Pratima. Actually, I fully agree with what Pallavi Madam said. Entrepreneurship itself is a challenging activity. And it's a woman entrepreneur or a man, it would be the same. Now, from NABARD's perspective, if I say something, since we are dealing more with the rural population, particularly women in rural areas, you will find them low on resources. Now, the resources like education, skills, capital are quite scarce.
Correct.
Now, this would certainly make them less confident compared to their counterparts in the cities, and that would certainly lead to their position to be more, vulnerable. So, I feel it's a challenge for rural women to independently take up any economic activity, and therefore the organizations like you come into play. Is it not so?
Right.
The efforts that NABARD has initiated long back in 1992, this SSG bank linkage program was launched by NABARD, piloted by NABARD in 92, and it was mainstreamed since 1995. So that has practically brought perceptible change. And when in a company of the similar homogeneous group, they can take up very sustainable activities. They can face any kind of challenge within their sphere of activities. So challenges are there, but they can be taken up. They can be faced by them. That is what I personally feel. Secondly, I would like to say the success of any entrepreneurial activity will certainly depend on how that rural women would place herself in that ecosystem or that value chain effectively. Now, there could be a kind of resistance. It could be a possibility, but that is any effective service provided by the women entrepreneur would certainly be accepted. So challenges are there, but there are ways out. Thank you.
No, yeah, that's a good kind of advice. Dr. Mayank, one of the things that we were all, we always say is when you see it, you be it, right? And in this case, to see all of these amazing women emerge out of rural Udupi and Goa and parts of Maharashtra, you'll probably see more, women trying to set up their own enterprises as well. What would you say about this?
So I will say like, yeah, of course the efforts are commendable and things are getting on place right now. And then the whole ecosystem environment regarding the women entrepreneurship has moved towards positive direction in recent times. Even if you see that last year during the Independence Day speech, even our PM made a statement from the Red Fort about the promoting Nari Shakti. So of course,
Yes.
momentum is there, but the time is like we catch that momentum. So like I agree with what Pallavi and Vishwas said about this women entrepreneurship culture. But I also like to highlight few things where we need to push more ourselves. So of course, credit is one of the most important things which women need to start their enterprise. But apart from this, they also need a continuum of support. Like if you see the whole ecosystem structure of entrepreneurship in the country, like there's a divide. Majority of the women entrepreneurship are shifted into rural areas, and we see the demographics of rural areas. So they lack a skill set, they lack education, they lack support system, they lack family support. Every lot of challenges they face. So apart from giving the credit linkages and market linkages, what are we doing to promote or to address these challenges?
Right.
So I was I was going through one document where I found that there are almost around 70 central government schemes and more than 400 schemes sponsored by the state government. But if you see the segregation of these schemes, so majority of the schemes are allied into agriculture sector and their allied sectors. Very few schemes are focused towards networking and mentoring. So is there momentum shift that we can build, like we can like do the advocacy with the government to bring more such schemes to promote networking and scaling of women? Apart from this, like can we design some mechanism, like can we bring out with some programs which can provide end-to-end like support throughout the life cycle of the project, not only
Right.
few components of the entrepreneurship, but starting
Right.
from inception stage to the maturity stage. So if the players like development partners, NBFCs, banks, government, anyone who can come up with these ideas, that will definitely be a boost for the women entrepreneurship in the country.
Mm.
So only targeting certain segments, certain structures will not help. So we need to come out with strategy that can provide like cycle approach, support through
Right.
the continuum of support in cycle manner.
Mm.
Thank you.
Mr. Prabhakar, I know we were discussing the the NRLM program and the SHGs in Udupi a few months ago, and I know there were some 80,000 women as part of it.
Yeah.
So could you tell
Yes,
us a little bit about what kind of
yeah,
challenges,
actually, we see in our district more than 80 to 85% of ST members are in our district. So actually, what are the challenges that actually see? Actually, we are.
so we can't hear you clearly. Could you maybe bring the mic closer?
Is audible?
Yes, better, much better.
Yeah. You see, actually, more than 75 to 80% of SLT comes in P district. So you already told that women empowerment is one of the very challenging and one of the complex subject. So nowadays, SLT women are very clearly they are actually allowed for CF loans means in the sense that one SHG, for example, 10 women. Okay, we are seeing each SHG we are getting only for 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000 per head per person. So nowadays 10 to 15,000 we can't do any work. So any work or any business or any business, right? Is it right? So that we are actually linked to the bank linkage. Already it's like NABARD department officer, I think Vishwa sir already told that regarding we are looking for the loan providers from NABARD or any other bank. At the same time, we people also in the district or the state level, we are encouraged to be PMEG loan or CMEG loan or Mudra loan. So directly link it to the bank linkage. So in between the women's entrepreneur little better position. We are growing that. So we are also work out this regarding this issue for entrepreneurship. And in the same time, like for example, your NGO or some other NGO people are also they are coming and help us to our SHG. So in future, we are this is one of the convergence project. We already told that this is MORD, Government of India project, and also the other states there will be SHG entrepreneurship. But in the same time, convergence like other departments, other NGOs, other government body or non-government institutions also come to this. So we help them to SHG.
Professor Valsraj, I want to kind of deep dive on the same question, women entrepreneurship, but can we give it a little bit flavor around tourism, and maybe talk to us also about what are the kind of opportunities for micro entrepreneurs in the you are seeing, and how do we kind of tackle that?
Okay.
Remember that tourism is 10% of our GDP. They're often bedrocks of the rural economy where they are in, other than the agricultural economy. So tourism actually has this huge opportunity to be a game changer and create all these jobs in the rural area. So I know you have a lot of creative examples of micro entrepreneurship, and it could even be based on GI tag food items from that area. So maybe just give us a flavor of what are the opportunities, what are the different types of entrepreneurs that can emerge from this space, one. And second, what do you think are the big challenges, especially for women?
Yeah, thank you, Pratima. And I thank Ms. Pallavi also for the substantial evidence in such a way that challenge is not nowadays for the women, but of course, like I think the men are finding it as little more challenging to get into the men-dominated industry. Okay, our industry is a men-dominated industry. However, some challenges of mentoring, networking, as well as what I say is like a woman always has to get back and get into the responsibilities of the house and all, like it's going on. But from the perspective of the tourism, and if you look into that, like look around us only, like in Udupi district, and most of the travel agencies are led by women. Okay, maybe the Sunshine, or maybe the Dreams, or maybe the Apna Holidays or whatever. The women are there at the leadership, and they are pushing it apart. And I could not see that like a dominance of the men is very pretty much happening there in that. So that's a best example of that. Or else, when I say a rural tourism concept, so mostly in the concept of the tag of Aditi, they were. What we could find is that, like, when you go to the remote villages, say Shankarpura or your Mattu or whatever, it is the men who will be the bystander of the business, whereas the women are the one who is running the business. But they are not coming into forefront. But if they are not there, the business is not there. For example, especially that GA tagged Shankarpura Jasmine, and look at that, the share of that. And the export even goes to Pakistan, Dubai, and Qatar, and so on. So, who is behind it? It's nothing but the woman entrepreneur. Then who actually plant it and who gets up early in the morning and before the sunrise, who picks up and who ties that. And finally it comes to the market through the men. That's a way. Or look at one of the authenticity of the Udupi or the Mangalore or whatever. If that's the case, like I have to narrate the story of Aruna Pai. When I say Aruna Pai, she is holding almost around 28 to 30% of the market of the authentic spices in Udupi and Mangalore through her own brand that's known as Aruna Masala. Okay, so in such cases, it's a very positive indices in such a way that like women entrepreneurs are enjoying it in such a way that, but only concern here is nothing but the skeptical concern of how the others are looking at them. And people say that venture capitalists are not investing into women. Okay, but that's also maybe like I can prove it like in case if needed. However, we could see a lot. We could see a lot. For example, even our own alumni. Then I was just filling the data sheet of the alumni engagement of the Mahe today. Then I could see that most of them, like for example, let be Bangalore Uta company. Okay. Or let be any concern, we could see the women there at the top as our passed out student, and in such a way, and tourism also, and it is inborn into in women in such a way that how do you greet, then take care of the people and nurture. So I find it is very well established there in the root of the women in such a way that like now how do we look towards the tourism is an entirely different perspective than the men-driven industry. So that's what I have to comment on this. That's my experience also.
Yeah. No, I think we're seeing a lot of star women, like the Bangalore Uta company, and even in Udupi, women running a surf school. We've a lady who runs like a grandma's kitchen with authentic local cuisine, which is in the resorts locally. So we do have that, but the numbers are unfortunately not matching these like star women performers. Like globally, I just looked this up, less than 3% of all venture capital worldwide, less than 3% is given to women founder-led businesses. And in India, obviously the way we calculate this may be different, but women part of the workforce is less than 13%. So there's a lot of work to do to move the needle, and it's nice to see that there's a lot of support, and we have an enabling environment at this point in time, but there's a lot of work to do. So one of the key areas which we do have to work on is capital. Like I said, less than 3% of venture capital investment goes into women led businesses, and it is often hard for women to access capital. Often they may not have property or assets in their name, which means that it becomes more difficult to get access to loans. So I want to ask Mr. Vishwas about what are the opportunities, like how do women own businesses, access capital in this kind of an ecosystem? And also kind of highlight some opportunities, especially in India, for women-owned businesses to access capital.
See, when we are talking about promoting entrepreneurship, we are basically talking about marginalized sections, particularly from the rural areas or the people from the have-nots class. Our experiment with women in rural areas, it has proved that when they come together, now there is a panelist from an RLM also, Mr. Achar, and he will agree with me, that women, when they come together, when they are marginalized and when they have less resources, and if they come together from a very same background, homogeneous background, it has been proved that they can easily access credit, through coming together in form of SHGs.
Right.
And then the whole segment of opportunities, opens for them. They get connected with the institutions. They are able to establish access to the institutional credit. Apart from that, there are so many other avenues now open through various government schemes, like there are Mudra loans, there is Stand Up India initiative from the central government, where the women has to be one of the beneficiary per branch. Okay. And so opportunities are sufficient. Accessing credit, particularly by coming together, is comparatively easy, I feel so. Because in case if somebody wants to approach a bank for any entrepreneurial activity, it will go through many processes which can be avoided if the requirements are within which we can say microcredit requirements particularly. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Mayank, thoughts on this? How do women, what are the kind of opportunities for women and entrepreneurs to access funding in today's times in India?
Right, to completely agree with Mr. Viswas. So, so we have to disconnect what kind of entrepreneurship we are talking about. Like, if we are talking about the micro level entrepreneurs, like who have big budget and all, then of course there is a challenge. But if we are talking about entrepreneurs at the marginalized level, women from the marginalized section of society, so of course, as I mentioned, that there are more than 70 central government schemes. There are 400 schemes run by state government across the state from 15 ministries.
Right.
The point is how much we are trying, like how much dissemination we are doing of the correct information. Like the onus would be like, if we want to promote that, we have to disseminate information in an integrated way. The
Right.
first thing is that. Then at the same time, we have to capacitate the women through like digital or financial inclusion mechanisms, whether they understand the requirement, whether they fulfill the eligibility criteria or not, whether they fulfill the documentation or not. So if we do this two-way process, like dissemination of the information and then capacitating these women, I think they would be able to go and achieve these loans and credit. The challenge is at the upper stage when we talk about micro level things, of course. Then there we have to think at the advocacy level. Of course, the environment has changed over the period of time, but since and there is a lot of advocacy going around, like doing gender lens investing kind of things are happening there, and there are certain private dedicated funds for women also. So those
Right.
entrepreneurs who wish to go for that, they can go for there. For central governments, like as I mentioned about Mudra loan, then then there is Shakti Mission, then there is Annapurna Yojana that are centrally sponsored. Then again, the Stand Up India Fund. So these are the funds particularly dedicated for women entrepreneurs. The effort is like, and even if you see, if you go to this village level where there are kiosks, common service centers, so they understand all these things. But we need to capacitate these women so they go and seek those right information from those centers. So these things can be done, I think. And yeah, so mostly like it's two-way process, like both at the upward and downward sides. So it could help.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work to be done, especially around sharing information about this with our women, entrepreneurs, and sharing lists about who's eligible, what is available to them. Um, and I think we should definitely do that with our network of women entrepreneurs. So, other than funding, the other big area and the challenge that we see is market linkages and connecting these women with amazing products through the market. Um, and I want your thoughts on this, Pallavi. What can we do to connect these micro entrepreneurs um, with the market and the industry? You're on mute, Pallavi.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So before that, coming to the previous question, so one of the panelists mentioned that women have less resources and they are more vulnerable, which is, I mean, the marginalized sections that we're talking about, which I completely agree with. And also, I would like to say that women, in the rural areas especially, are a little afraid to come out. And they are like a kind of in a shell. They depend on their family or their husband or some elder banks. So while there are all these loans and schemes, the promotion also is required. So like if the woman is pre-informed that there is something like this, then she can directly go and ask rather than wait for someone, at the bank or the financial institution to tell her. Because in the chamber, like we have this women's network. So sometimes when I interact with them, she was just telling me that, this particular person, she has a business of her own. She's doing well, but it's a small business. And she wanted a small loan. Now, because she didn't know there was something called mudra which existed, so she had to go and she had to, and a lot of times the question is like, what does your husband do? So, that's a question. That's a normal question which is asked, which is fair enough. But again, if that woman is, not so well aware, and then she gets kind of on the back foot, she doesn't know what to say. So while all these schemes are there, the most important part is dissemination, being aware that you have this, like in Goa, EDC is there. It's doing a phenomenal job. They're giving under the CMRY, there's a loan at 6%. But the the men are charged, I mean, other entrepreneurs are charged at 8%. So DITC has schemes where you get 10% more for women entrepreneurs and all that. But how many of us are aware? Like I'm aware of this because probably I'm there at the chamber and I listen to this. But otherwise, a woman who is actually wanting to set up a business of her own, if she is more aware of this, then that helps. And that is where organizations like yours also come in. And mentoring is a very, very, I think, a key word which one of the panelists mentioned, that mentoring is key. So when she gets this mentoring, when she gets a community, when she gets a self-help group, that is when there is a kind of course, idea awareness is there. But more than anything, there's a confidence which builds in this woman, because like we are together, we are going as a team. There's someone else to handhold me should I require it at that point. So I think that that is a very important thing. And coming to, how do they access markets and stuff, you yourself know that, when you came to the chamber, and I think Mr. Jack Sukit, as the chairman of our committee, he was the first one. Panjimin has kind of, I think, already having a tie-up with your Place Explore app, where and similar tie-ups can be, sought with others as well. Then we had a similar thing I shared with you and with Tanya and Meera about CMM. So CMM Arena. So they came to know about this effort of yours. In fact, one of the GMs of CM, Mr. Hari Kaul, he addressed, I think, on the graduation day, and he kept that in mind. You see, he came and not only addressed, he kept that in mind. And after some time, when CMM was having this kind of mela, he said, why don't I offer some space to some of the women entrepreneurs that were a part of that group which I had attended. So kind of when you involve the industry, when you tell us, reach out to people, it is only then that people are aware that yes, there is something like this. Maybe we can tie up, maybe we can get together, maybe we can offer something, which is a win-win situation. So it is not
right.
as like always as a favor or something like that. Even my business needs to offer something. So if you come to my hotel, I would like to tell my guests that, you know, this local, authentic Uh, so that I think works uh, a lot in the long term. And when organizations like y'all have done such an extensive project, I mean, I've been aware of it, you know, ever since y'all conceptualized this. And you've given everything, including social media linkage, which is the most important thing. So like you have, you know, visibility is so important now at this stage. And you as an entrepreneur especially, you can't work alone, you can't work in isolation. You need people, you need word of mouth, you need to learn from the success stories of others. You know, that is another thing which motivates women, even if they are feeling down or low for some reasons. There's something which has happened, when they listen to someone else who has overcome her adversities in that group, that is what is very empowering to women. And I think y'all are doing a fantastic job in that.
Thank you, Pallavi. But I think we have a long way to go. And I think we've tried very hard to do, you know, work on market linkages. But in the long run, we need to focus on that a lot more, because I think business finally funds business, right? And
Absolutely,
we
yes.
need to ensure that, you know, these micro entrepreneurs have continuous access to business. And we've seen a lot of support for it from the private sector, but it, you know, it has to become part of the culture.
Yes.
And we do need to kind of get more local businesses to support these local micro entrepreneurs. And I totally agree with you. It's a win-win situation. I think the hotel and the local industry actually benefits from it as much as the women. You know, their product becomes so much more unique, and it becomes so much more authentic and vernacular. So yeah, I think bang on with that thought about it's not being just an altruistic thing, but it's about really the brand and the location, the destination brand, right? Like with the women in Goa, I remember hearing about these ancient forms of Goan sweets, which as the consumer who travels to Goa so many times had not heard about, right? So it is definitely a win-win situation. Mr. Prabhakar, what are your thoughts on what else
Yeah,
should we be doing in
yes,
terms of
yes.
market linkages?
Yeah, madam. Actually, this is a very good concept. We actually branding and marketing. It's very, very, very important. For example, any woman entrepreneur, once we starting any good products in our resident months, finally it would be reached to the public, and also we good branding and marketing. So that reason, actually, our department we have already any good products in our rural areas. We are especially for branding, the name of our Sanjeevani logo and the name branding. And we also for marketing. We already launched our Government of Karnataka Chief Minister last year launch for our digital marketing, like you know, Flipkart or Amazon. So like very few products from Flipkart and Amazon also. And also we are actually in the state office, we are a Sanjeevani digital marketing. It's a one marketing website. Along with we are adding that products that will be process will be going on. I think shortly it will after 6 months or 1 year, it will all the Sanjeevani products is coming under digital marketing. So
Oh,
this is the very easy to any products to uh, share the state and also our district and other different areas to collect the online marketing. That's very important. So also we are a department so follow regarding on the local market, that is Sanjeevani Sante, and like you know Saras Mela, that is in actually Bangalore or Mysore or Belgaum or Orissa or any other states also. We are every year twice or thrice organizing like Mela, Saras Mela. The same that Mela, entire states products coming and displaying the products. So this is also one of the good way for the marketing, because once we are self-entrepreneur, so a lot of products will go down. So ultimately they are not interested. Once they are marketing, good marketing and good rate also. Is we are available. Is there 100% their future or SG women entrepreneurs go step by step?
Professor Valsraj, how can we get the industry to support more community-based tourism? We've not really, I want to be, like I'm part of the industry, and I know we've not done even, there's a lot of work to do. So what should we all be doing to push industry to enable more community-based tourism and micro-entrepreneurship in the destinations that they work in? Professor, you're on mute. I think we can't
Okay.
hear you.
Is it okay?
Professor Vals, yeah, but yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, okay, listening to that question, there are 2-3 points which comes to my mind.
So your voice is not very clear.
Maybe there is some network issue. Is it okay now? I'm coming so close to.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it okay?
Yes, much better.
Much better. Maybe some issue. I think like I'm still in the office. Maybe that's why. The first thing what the industry can do is nothing but to facilitate the market linkage to the entrepreneurs. Why? Because once upon a time there was a khoj or the quest for employment, but now most of the people, most of the ladies, I can say that even the girls who have come from that particular platform or transition from the employment to the entrepreneurship. Okay, E to E, I call it that. So the first thing what, for example, the Incredible India kind of movement or whatever, what they do is nothing but they provide a market linkage to the social entrepreneurs. So what they can do means care of the government bodies, they can exhibit, promote, as well as sell the products, and more of cultural orientation, authenticity orientation, and so on. Second thing is nothing but now the tourism industry has changed a lot in such a way that to advocate the policy for the entrepreneur and as well as to support them. Okay. Earlier it was something like that come up, but now it is a way like, no, this is the way you have to come up. So there is a lot of advocacy for the policy formulation as well as the support which is happening. Then lot of like subsections like your organization or your Red Dot or whatever. Then it comes up with a lot of mentoring and guidance support for the entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. That is quite fascinating, and there are a lot of facility which we see like it's coming up. Then what the government of India has now done to the micro entrepreneurs is nothing but to provide the access to the resource in such a way that startup capital, how Nidhi Aayog and so many startup capitals have been introduced. And it's not only an introduction, but there is a kind of promotion of the same thing among the ladies as well as the women to undertake it. So that what happened here is that I just got a call almost a week back from G8 Tact. Okay, that's one of the companies completely run by the women. Okay, there's nothing but they collect and sell the GI tagged items. Okay, so they were just asking me for the recipe of one of the what we have practiced here. So how we can promote it? You see that what gave the connectivity to them is nothing but the government of Karnataka, and they identified like who can support and gave the phone number and the email access to them. Then they reached out, and so you see like that 5 minutes of the work, right, literally turns to a success story later. So that's the way like how they build up the resources as well as support to themselves.
So how do we get big industry? ITC like Taj group of hotels, Oberoi, the big leaders in Indian hospitality? How do we get them to engage more on
ITC is our sister concern, so they
Yes,
are
I know.
already there into some of the entrepreneurship development. Each offer. So what they do is they promote the wheat growing, and the same wheat which they grow is being purchased by the ITC, and they convert it as one of the products as like Ashirwad Atta. And that atta is available across I can say that across the globe. When I go abroad also, I can see that. When I go down to Parkla also, I can see that. And Bangalore also, I can see that. That's the way, like, how the local product is like, disposed in the market. As someone of you are rightly pointing it out, the marketing and network ability. So ITC is getting into it. Then Taj is also like taken up the villages and so many agro farms and so on. So, and they are also helping it. Industry like agro farms like Trikaya or whatever, they are directly in contact with the airlines catering like Oberoi or TajSats or whatever, and they become the farm gate between the user as well as the farmers, and they procure their items, and so that the farmers are getting fair price for their own producers, and there is no economic loss. Plus, the consumers are getting almost like good quality product. So this equation is very, very strong now, and it is going on. I cannot say that it's very parallel, but we are almost reaching to a very concern of like a parallel economy in such a way that everyone will be sustaining in a proper way through the support of the micro entrepreneurship.
Okay, great. Mr. Vishwas, any final thoughts on market linkages? So you're on mute. So you're on mute.
So we are talking about community-based tourism. So I'll just limit my talk only to the specific subject. See, if you read the pulse of tourist, okay. So tourist is at the center of this subject, and they have their choices, preferences. And if you now look at the behavior pattern of tourists, many tourists are willing to go to offbeat places. Like they would like to go into villages, rural tourism, agri-tourism. So many things are coming up. And when we are talking about community-based tourism, that too led by the women, which essentially I see it in remote areas. In it's away from the cities, the buzz of cities. Okay, so the customers are ready. Okay, now to connect with them has also become substantially easy in a way. Social media and internet, because here the beneficiary, the customer, the tourist, that is, he is he is capable of identifying a place. Only the service provider needs to be identified or needs to be searchable. Okay, so creating web pages or creating being part of those placing yourself on Airbnb platforms, and there are so many such indigenous platforms also. So that would certainly bring the customers at your doorstep. So marketing, I do not see, particularly for a tourism, or particularly for a community-based rural tourism, a big issue, because people are willing, and they are willing to spend a lot on that for those kind of experiences. So that's.
No, I think on that note, I think that's a very positive way of looking at it. The market is ready. All of us have to.
Connect the dots. And perhaps those people whom we are talking about are not in a position to do so. A kind of hand-holding is desirable.
Yeah, connect the dots is a good way to kind of explain this. So on that note, I know we are completely out of time. I want to thank this amazing panel for, kind of sharing all their, insights with us and their kind of heartfelt advice to the group. So thank you, Pallavi, Mr. Vishwas, Mr. Prabhakar, Professor Valsraj, and Dr. Mayank. I know he had to leave for another engagement. But yeah, this has been a very insightful conversation. And we also really, really want to thank you for your, guidance and support throughout this last couple of years as we, tried to connect the dots and make this happen. There's a lot of work to do, but all of you have been really a backbone and a great support through this program. So I again want to kind of share our heartfelt gratitude and thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Pratima. Thank you, Red Dot, and all the panelists.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Nice being with you all.
Thank you, everyone. We now have a few of our women entrepreneurs who will just take a minute to share their experience. So I would like to call on Shilpa. Shilpa, would you like to share your experience? Shilpa, you're here? Okay, so since we're waiting for Shilpa, I think she's connecting. Shilpa, can you hear us? Okay, Pushpa, would you like to go next? Pushpa? Okay, I think we don't have Pushpa. Also, Shali?
Pushpa is here.
Pushpa? Yeah, Pushpa.
I am
sorry.
there.
Yes,
I
yes,
am there.
please go ahead. Go ahead, and if speak in whatever language you're comfortable with, we will put it in the chat box. We'll translate and put in the chat box, okay?
Shall I talk in Kannada? I shall talk in Kannada.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ತರಬೇತಿಯಿಂದ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರಿ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಒಳ್ಳೇದಾಯ್ತು. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕಾಂಪಿಟೆನ್ಸ್, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಧೈರ್ಯ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕಾಂಪಿಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವಂದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವ್ ಆ ತರ ಐಟಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು ಅನ್ನುವ ಧೈರ್ಯ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಮನೆ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಮಾಡಿ ಇರುವಂತ ಇದ್ದದ್ದು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಆ ತರಬೇತಿ ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯ್ತು. ಅವರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಧೈರ್ಯ ತುಂಬಿದ್ರು. ನೀವೊಂದು ಇಂತ ಒಂದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಉದ್ಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದಂತ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಮೊದಲು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಮಾಡಿ ನೀವು ಈ ತರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಹ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ ತುಂಬಾ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಸೊ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you so much. Disha will translate and put it in the chat box. Thank you for sharing your experience. I'd like to call on here. Shilpa, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Could you please repeat, because I couldn't hear what
Sure.
exactly you want me to share.
Yes, so Shilpa, share your experience with this program. What have you gained from it? How did you like it? If you could just share a line or two.
Yes, of course. Joining this Red Dot Foundation has been a win-win situation for us. Because we were totally new in this field or rather, in the entrepreneurship. We were taking baby steps, but joining Red Dot has given us wings
It has helped us in many ways, formalizing this, putting a business on the formal platform, learning many things like the social media advertisements and how to engage on them. Plus the direct marketing like the expos and the festivals, you know, and all the other events that are happening, how to make a presence felt over there. That has been a great experience, and we have definitely scaled up our business with the help of Red Dot.
Thank you. Thank you, Shilpa.
Was I audible?
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for joining. I know you had another commitment and, you have taken time out to join us. So thank you very much. I'd like to...
and excuse me for the technical error. I couldn't help it in between when you were calling out my name. I'm
That's
sorry.
fine. That's fine. Don't worry. That's absolutely fine. Shali?
Thank you.
Shali, thank you, Shilpa. And thank you, Pushpa. And Charlene, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Would you like to go ahead and share your experience?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shalini Dikuna, an entrepreneur and a small business owner. I would like to thank the Red Dot Foundation for providing us these various valuable training sessions that has benefited us in our business. The part where we learned how to maintain separate accounts from personal and separate for business has helped us to understand and keep a track of our income and saving better. I would also like to thank the Red Dot Foundation for giving us the opportunity to set up stalls at 2 5-star hotels in Goa. It was a great platform for us to increase our earnings and build a network. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlene. And now I'd like to call Sukanya. Sukanya, you're there? Sukanya, Ms. Shetty?
Yes, ma'am.
Sukanya, you speak in whatever language you want.
Kannada.
Yes.
Kannada, ma'am. Okay. ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಇಂದ. ನನಗೆ ಪ್ರಭಾಕರ್ ಸರ್ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಫಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಅವರಿಗೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ನಾನು ತುಂಬಾ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನಂಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದು ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅದಿದ್ರೆ ನಂಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗೂ ಪ್ರತಿಮಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ತುಂಬಾ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು ನಂಗೆ ಇದ್ರಿಂದ. ನಾನು ಯೋಗ ಟೀಚರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ. ಆ ಬೇಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ. ನನ್ಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಜನರೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ನಂಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಯೋಗ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಜನರಿಗೆ ತಲುಪಿಸಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾನು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ನಂಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಟೋಟಲ್ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು. Thank you. Thank you,
Sukanya. Thank you. And if there are any questions that anyone would like to add or any inputs, we would love your inputs or questions in the chat box. I know we said we'll finish on time at 7 and it's sharp 7, but I would like to thank everyone who attended today, especially our panelists, Mr. Prabhakar Achar, Mr. Vishwas Kadam, Ms. Pallavi Arundekar, Dr. Mayank Prakash, Professor Valsraj, Ms. Pratima Manohar, Charlene Dikuna, Shilpa, Sukanya, and Pushpa, and all the other women entrepreneurs and everyone else who's been here this evening. So much. We will continue and we will continue to be in touch. We will continue this program. It doesn't end here. But we look for, like Pratima said, many more market linkages and many more opportunities to take your business further. So thank you everyone for your time, and we are here for a little while. So if anyone has any questions or you would like to share your inputs, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat box. Thank you, everyone. since no questions, but we've put some, translations in the chat box, and women entrepreneurs have thanked some of our panelists. Actually, most of our panelists have been very, very supportive, like Pratima has said, in supporting them with market linkages, with opportunities, and we hope, we get more market linkages and more opportunities to take this further. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, and thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Pratima. Thank you, the Place Explore team. We couldn't have done it without, all of us and the RDF team. Thank you, everyone.